It's Tuesday, September 26th, and this is Geeknights. Tonight we discuss the old board game, Stratego. Let's do this. So today I realized that next week I only have to work 3 days.
Theoretically, I only have to work 4 days. They haven't actually told me if I get Friday off or not.
Really?
Yeah, at worst case, I'll come Friday evening on my own.
Oh, okay. Because on Monday is the Jew holiday, Yom Kippur, which is the day where you don't eat and all your sins go away. And I don't believe in any of that, but I'm going to take off Rovanika. And Friday is Citicon. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, so once again, we're going to plug it all week, this week and next week, because we're going. And while we have gone to many cons as Geeknights and as other things, this is the first con that is offered to pay our whole way.
Hooray for Citicon.
Not just our badge in or hotel.
Yeah, Citicon is the SUNY IT Anime Club convention. It is an anime con in Utica, New York, and it is pretty cool.
Could you sound any less enthusiastic? That was like the most horrible...
I'm just giving the information now.
Whatever. It's going to be awesome. We're doing a whole crazy ton of stuff at this con.
Yeah, we're running a game show, and we're doing panels. And
we're doing, what, 3 panels?
Yeah, and we're doing an artist alley table, and we're doing all sorts of crazy batshit at this con. So if you're anywhere near, you should go.
Now, I know we have a good number of listeners back at RIT. It's not that far from you guys.
It's only like 2 to 3 hours-ish.
Yeah, probably 2 hours. I mean, it's a little bit past Syracuse on the thruway.
Yep. It's, right in the middle of New York State, equidistant from anywhere in the entire state. So if you're in New York State or southern Ontario or western Connecticut, Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire, something like that.
Yeah, that was great, Scott.
Yeah.
Pretty much, if you live within a few hours of this place, I'd highly recommend you go because, one, it's one of those small anime cons that's just starting out, and they're almost always awesome because the only people who go to them tend to be awesome people.
Yep, and...
plus, they tend to be really cheap.
The other thing is I've spoken to the guy running the con, and they sound like they know what they're doing, so I really doubt it's going to be one of those, people tried to run a con, but they screwed it up deals.
Well, they've got their act together more than at least half of the cons I've been talking to in recent memory.
I know, if you just look at the guests they've collected, I mean, they collected a bunch of podcasters, which isn't hard.
Dude, they got entertainment system.
Yeah, they got entertainment system, and they got the video game pianist guy, which, just shows, hey, they're up to something.
Now, we actually have a relevant anecdote about entertainment system.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, I don't know if I think I'll save it.
Yeah.
I'll save it for next week, the pregame.
Okay, we'll save it. But regardless, go if you're thinking about going, www.citacon.com. Citicon, like sit-a-con.
It really whips the llama's ass.
Whip. Really whips the llama's ass.
Whatever, it's video game day.
Yeah, it is.
I'll let your news go first because my news is a Jack Thompson news.
Oh, God. That's all. I think half of your news is Jack Thompson and Sony news.
You know what? On video game day it is because there's not much other video game news I care about. I mean, I'm not going to report on rumors about the Wii or rumors about the PlayStation 3 or rumors about any
I'm not going to report on rumors about anything either, but...
And I was going to talk about White Knight because Penny Arcade went nuts about this game, and so did half the internet, but while the trailer was really pretty and it looked really cool, there is absolutely not enough information to say anything valuable about this game.
No, there wasn't.
Other than that it was very pretty.
Yep. All right, so... I want someone to go and look in the archives of frontrowcrew.com and find out how many times Rim has made a Sony news and how many times he's had a Jack Thompson news, so we get a little tally going up here, on the virtual chalkboard that is the forum.
Well, remember, they both have the same standard. They have to do something crazier than something they've already done.
All right, anyway, everyone knows that, Nintendo seems to be getting it on with Opera. They have an Opera browser for the DS that costs $30 and it comes with a little flash card and whatever. And I don't know if that's out yet in this country, but it's going to be for sure. And the Wii is going to have Opera for your web browsing pleasure. But it was just announced today, 100% sure, not a rumor, that Opera for the Wii will be free until June of 2007. So if you get a Wii before June of 2007, you can download Opera and install it on your Wii for nothing. Just click, there it is.
Now, think of this, not so much for us as gamers, because many of us gamer types probably already have a computer plugged into the TV, and it's not a big deal. We run our emulators there and everything. But we're not the focus of all these things they're putting in the Wii. Imagine normal people to whom if you showed them a computer hooked up to a TV with an emulator and a web browser, they wouldn't know what to think. They just go nuts.
Well, here's another thing I want to point out is that the Wii, first of all, the Wiimote is a very good pointing device, which is good for using a browser. 2, people are really familiar with using a remote control, so if they can use a remote control device to browse the web, my grandma has a hard time using a web browser because she's an old grandma. But if she had a remote control to browse the web, I imagine she'd have a much better time of it.
I note that my grandpa has absolutely no trouble surfing the web.
Yeah, my grandpa also kind of doesn't. It's mostly that they don't know what they should do. Not that they don't know how to do it as much. I mean, they don't know. But anyway, also, we currently have a computer plugged into our TV, a Mac Mini with Firefox, and that's all well and good for browsing the web. But it's not perfect for browsing the web on a TV. I mean, you can't maximize things on a Mac. You can't full screen Firefox on the Mac.
There are ways around that. We just haven't
There
bothered.
are ways around it, and you have to keep adjusting font sizes. But if I had a Wii and I had Opera on it, I would probably end up using that to browse the web a lot more, especially since it'll have Flash and all this other stuff, playing Flash games with the Wiimote. Hello.
Well, beside all that, I mean, once again, to all the normal people out there, this is a crazy thing. You buy this Wii, it's $250. It's a next-gen console. Additionally, it checks the weather for you, and it effectively emulates all of the functionality of web TV and more.
Yeah, it's pretty badass. Very badass. I'm actually, the weather thing, at first I'm like, weather? What are they talking about? But I'm probably going to use that weather a lot because all the weather checking I do on my computer either takes too much effort, visit a website, type in the zip code, press enter, wait.
Scott, you realize that you can just go into the widgets on the Mac, which is also right there, and see the weather.
I know, but not with the maps and everything, It's not the full weather. It's just the summary.
There are widgets that do that.
But It'd be easier to turn on the Wii with the remote control.
Or the Mac that's already on and has a remote control.
The remote control doesn't do the widgets.
You can futz with the remote control.
I don't know how to futz with the remote control. Already, it's more effort. The point is while we might be able to do that, with a little bit of effort, it now requires no effort, which is good for dumb people.
I mean, I guess in general, the Wii is just coming out gangbusters. I mean, they're going to have 1 million units at launch in the U.S. alone. It's real cheap. It's got this crazy launch lineup. I can't imagine better news to come out.
Yeah, I mean, the thing I wonder, though, is Opera. Unlike Mozilla, Opera is a profit company, aren't they? And they used to make their money by putting ads in Opera, but now they give Opera away for free, which they kind of have to do to compete with Firefox.
Well, considering one of the main things Opera always claims to have going for it, and a lot of people agree, is that it generally is better for devices that don't have the best displays because of the way it handles scaling and that sort of thing.
Yeah, Opera is basically making their money by making versions of Opera for non-computers. If it's not a computer, Opera makes a version for it. They've got like Opera Palm, Opera for any little weird cell phones.
Now, I'll bet that Nintendo and Opera have some sort of deal where Nintendo probably didn't pay very much, if anything. Because this is a lot of press for Opera.
It is, but I still wonder where exactly the money comes from. I mean, sure, if someone buys Opera DS, Opera gets money. And I'm pretty sure that when Opera is no longer free on the Wii, that if you have to pay for it, they'll get money.
Or how for-profit is Opera? How much money do they make? Is that public?
I don't know. I had to look that up.
They could be like Ghostscript, where they're for-profit, but yet they don't make any money.
I'm gonna spend tomorrow.
Or like Google's new charity thing. Technically, they're for profit because it's easier that way.
Yeah, I think tomorrow I'm gonna do some research into how Opera makes money and how much money they make, and I'll come back with a report.
So, Jack Thompson.
Uh-oh.
I love you. You provide so much joy.
Wait a minute. Rim loves old man. Write this down. Rim loves old man.
I killed a man in Reno once just to watch him die.
Yeah.
All right, anyway, Jack Thompson. Now, the news itself is not the issue here, because the news is some kid played a bunch of Grand Theft Auto, went nuts, shot some people, and now there's a $600 million lawsuit against the makers of Grand Theft Auto Vice City, which they claim he played obsessively, claiming that basically this game caused him to do it. Now, $600 million, and claiming that this game, the game that they allowed him to play obsessively.
The game they bought for him.
The game they bought for him and allowed him to play.
How old was the kid?
14.
Uh-huh. And was the game rated M?
Yep.
So even if I was Take-Two and I lost this lawsuit to Jack Thompson, which the chances of are basically nil, because Jack Thompson hasn't won a lawsuit in his life as far as I know. At least not one that mattered.
Well,
I would just countersue the parents.
Now that's it. I mean, they talk about how he obsessively played the game for several months before he shot all these people. He's sent into state custody, whatever. Now, the quotes around this trial are the actual news here. Because if they hadn't said these things, I would have let this slide. This wasn't a big deal.
All right, bring on the funny quotes. I will rate them on a scale of 1 to 5. 5 being hilarious, pee in my pants. 1 being eh.
Now, I'll begin with the obvious one because he says this all the time. Grand Theft Auto series depict police killings and other acts of violence. The lawsuit calls, here we go, virtual reality murder simulators. Jack Thompson has said that phrase more than he said any other phrase ever.
Yeah, I'll give it a 2 just because a lot of people don't know Jack Thompson says that.
Now here's a nice one. But for the kid's use of these products, he would not have killed.
5 because it's false.
They're
God.
claiming straight up in perfect logic that because he used Grand Theft Auto, he killed. And if he had not used it, he would not have killed. Quid pro quo.
If they could demonstrate that in a court of law, I will eat my hat.
I'd like to see you eat your hat.
Good, because I had to go buy a hat.
All right, now this is the part. I mean, there's a whole bunch of quotes in here, but this is my favorite one. The game trained him, quote, how to point and shoot a gun in a fashion making him an extraordinarily effective killer without teaching any of the constraints and responsibilities needed to inhibit such a killing capacity.
10,
But before I, laugh hysterically, I want to try to say that if this were true, let's say that Jack Thompson is right. Let's say that sentence and everything he said is correct. That means that by playing Counter-Strike through college, I am a dangerous motherfucker now.
You better watch out for me. I'm coming to freaking hose everyone down. The cops won't be able to touch me.
Yeah, I mean, according to this lawsuit, Scott and I could single-handedly, if I had a MAC-10 and Scott had an MP5 and a Desert Eagle, take out the entirety of the law enforcement in the United States.
The only problems we could have is running out of ammo and or money to buy more ammo. Other than that, we're invincible.
You get money every time you kill someone.
Yeah, dude, you better freaking lock up Fatality. He's going to kill everyone. Why didn't we just send Fatality? What's his name? Jason Wendell, right?
Whatever.
Fatality. Fatality. Why don't we send Fatality? Call back the Army. Call back the Air Force. Just give Fatality a truck full of weapons and send him over to Iraq, and he will kill every terrorist, and no one will be able to stop him. Hello? Duh.
Yeah, they also claim, now here's just another funny quote. It's a two-word quote here, talking about, Sony of America, Take-Two, its subsidiary Rockstar Games. The lawsuit accuses all of these companies of a, quote, civil conspiracy.
Oh my God.
That's all I got.
If there was a civil conspiracy, right, then how come Sony and Take-Two haven't hired Fatality to go kill Nintendo and Microsoft and their competitors?
I don't know.
I mean, there's no way they'd even know he did it because he'd be so badass from playing all those ninja games, no one would see him.
Plus, I gotta say...
Yeah, dude, I played Ninja Gaiden when I was a kid. You can't see me, can you? I have such ninja skills. I can go be Batman.
Scott, you have no idea. I am a bad enough dude.
Are you a bad enough dude to rescue the president? I must be, because I played through half of Bad Dudes at one point in the arcade.
You know what? I actually really didn't like the game Bad Dudes at all.
No, Bad Dudes is a bad game.
That game sucked ass.
It did suck, but the point is, as I played Street Fighter, and I'm going to Sonic Boom you to God knows where.
Sonic Boom! Things of the day. This one's going to be nice and quick here. It's a video that I think you should all watch. Now, I'm sure everyone is familiar with the minus world in Super Mario Brothers.
If you don't know what the minus world is, crack-a-lack.
If you don't know
You
what the
don't know
minus
shit.
world is, get the fuck out.
You don't know shit.
No, anyway, so now Mario Brothers wasn't just released for the Famicom and the NES. It was also released for the Famicom Disk System.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize this. In Japan, there was a very popular Famicom Disk System, which was an NES where the games came on discs. And there were a lot of games released for that are very important.
So supposedly, this video here on Kotaku is of what happens if you go into the minus world in this slightly updated version of Super Mario Brothers. The minus world is crazy and amazing, and I guess the one thing this illustrates, since a lot of my things of the day have illustrated various things lately, is that two types of people, well, I guess three types of people watch this video. Type A, type 1, won't have any idea what the hell is going on. 90-year-olds and Jack Thompson. Type 2, or beta, will see this and think, all right, he did something glitchy with the video game, whatever. And the third type of people will just be utterly amazed, especially when they see the third world. And they'll, whoa, check out, oh my god, oh, and they just won't shut up about it.
And I'm the third type.
As am I.
All right.
So this is a nice test. Show this video to people and see how they react. You can tell whether or not they're a true gamer.
All right, so this video was actually posted in the forum, I think, by Water is Poison, and I think it's good enough to make a thing of the day.
It quite is.
It's called Farador D&D, or like the Battle of Farador, whatever. And it's a short D&D live-action movie, like 12 minutes long, sort of like that Fear of Girls, a little short movie about D&D playing.
Alors, c'est en français.
Ah, yes, these guys, they are from Quebec.
Oui, oui.
With the French Canadian. In fact, it's on video.google.ca for Canada. Anyway, what happens in this video is this guy goes to meet up with some old friends he used to play D&D with to play some D&D like the good old times. And the DM is a cool dude, and he's a cool dude, but the other two guys playing are sort of super serious about D&D. And conflict occurs as a result.
Boba Fett.
Yeah.
Boba Fett.
Boba Fett. And
it's funny up until a moment when you think one thing's going to happen, and then
yeah, there is one thing that happens in it that's sort of disturbing. Like,
no, it's not.
Oh,
it's not disturbing
It's
at all.
not disturbing. It's more like,
I just started cracking up because
yeah, it was hilarious. But I think the point of this video is that not only is it hilarious, but it illustrates in very plain terms, this is bad D&D and this is good D&D. And it can show people, even if they haven't played D&D before, see, D&D it looks like this, the stereotype, but really it can be like this. That's the good stuff. That's what we do. And that's what those nerds do.
Yeah, I mean, they're different. I mean, Beer and Pretzels D&D has its place.
Yeah.
But there are honestly some people out there who take it way too seriously.
Yeah, I'm not talking about...
No, here's the thing. They don't even take it seriously in, like, a serious role-playing way. There are people who take it seriously in this just scary kind of, you could reach 8th level tonight.
Yeah, I'm not talking about it, good D&D and bad D&D in terms of, having fun versus, seriously being in a fantasy world. I'm talking about, the attitudes toward the game being good and bad. One guy has the right attitude towards D&D, and the other two guys, they have a bad attitude that make the game kind of sucky.
I know people, and I know people who have known people who played the kind of D&D that you're seeing in this video.
Yeah. Yep. And so I suggest that everyone go watch this and learn and laugh.
Also, as a total aside, just because we talked about it just a little while ago, to make a long story short, our group has been debating a lot about the nature of D&D lately because our recent D&Ding hasn't been as great as it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
And we realized, Scott and I, a little while ago while watching some other stupid video that wasn't good enough to be a thing of the day, the key factor that we have lost, the table. The table in the middle of the room. We stopped playing around a table, and that's when everything went to hell.
Yeah, we've been playing D&D for, 6 or 7 years, just in a room with everyone laying down, reclining on a couch or sitting in a different area of the room, all about the place. And we realized, hey, when you all sit at a table, it keeps everyone in the game. It keeps everyone involved. People aren't off in their own world. People are, they're in. physically, and it makes a big difference.
Yep, and I had all these flashbacks to like some of the best D&D games I had where even if they're not at a table, everyone was sitting in a circle and everything was centralized. And we're going to do it. We're doing a show in the future about D&D and how we play it and how to play, but
Yeah.
we realized this just now, and I think it is going to usher in a new era of us.
I mean, look, when we
role-playing.
played that awesome Burning Wheel, we were at a big table with a whole bunch of people around it.
Yeah.
And that was key. Very key. So I recommend to everyone, if you are playing any sort of tabletop role-playing game, don't leave out the table.
In the very least,
we have.
have a big room and sit in a circle in the room on the floor.
Yeah, don't let people lay all around the place like we've been. You know, we got too casual, and we realize now that that was probably, or most likely, the cause of much of our not as good role-playing.
Yep, I've just now thought of a couple other little things, but that'll be another show.
Yep.
Because tonight, we're talking about something so completely the opposite of D&D.
We are talking about a very old board game. I think, when did Stratego first get made? Like, had to be the early 20th century, right?
I believe it was invented by Leonardo da Vinci.
Was it really?
No, Scott, no, no.
I'm being silly.
No.
I know it wasn't
Are you
made by Da
sure?
Vinci.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm sure.
Are you sure?
You couldn't get the sarcastic tone of my voice?
No, because there have been times in the past where you were entirely non-sarcastic about similar things.
Oh, well, I know that it wasn't made by,
Well, for anyone who doesn't know what I'm talking about, I'm going to pull a Cromartie here, and I suggest you look in the forums.
Oh, well, it says here, the origins of Stratego can be traced back to traditional Chinese board game Jungle, also known as Game of the Fighting Animals, or Animal Chess.
Uh-huh.
Yep. Yeah, there was a 1910 version that was French, and it so that's how old this game is. 1908. Yeah, this is an old
Scott,
game.
now, it was what, like $5?
This game was wicked cheap. I mean, I had a copy of Stratego when I was a kid.
As did I.
That was the 90s version, and it probably cost $10, and the new one is pretty similar. It's a different production, a different printing of the game.
Yeah,
but
we're going to bitch about something in the new version that I think most of you who didn't grow up playing board games will just think we're idiots.
all right, let's. I'm gonna start by giving a short description of the game because
You could probably describe in great detail how the entire game functions.
Yeah, it is a very simple game. You ready? There's a map. The map is a bunch of squares, and there are how many squares on each side? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times 40 squares on each side.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Big grid with 2 sets of water in the middle that no one can walk
There
on.
are 2 sets of water in the middle, which means there's only 3 different pathways that connect one side to the other side. And each of those pathways is 4 squares in a square. And on one side, you fill the map with blue pieces, and the other map side is filled with red pieces. And they fight, and one guy wins. Now, how do you win? Capture the flag. Move one of your guys to the other side of the map, find the flag piece, and touch it, and you win. Now, the thing is, not every piece is the same. Some pieces, there's one piece that's the flag. There are some pieces with numbers on them. And in the version that we played when we were kids, number 1 was the most powerful piece.
Yep, and number 9 was the scout.
Yep, nowadays, in the version we just bought recently, semi-recently, number 10 is the most powerful piece, and number 2 is the scout. So the game isn't changed, except they reversed the numbers to confuse us.
Now, the rationale I've heard a few people posit as to why they changed it was simply that people are dumb and higher numbers should be more powerful because otherwise people don't get it.
And those people are stupid, and yeah.
Yeah, I gotta say, it's weird how much that messes me up because I played the game as a kid and it's so ingrained in my head. Like,
it's really sort of an arbitrary decision. Like, it wouldn't matter.
No.
It's just the fact that we're used to one way
because I don't
that
think
it bothers
minor,
us.
I think 8s. I think 8. So I keep seeing my 8s, which are now the kernels, but I keep thinking they're minors, and I have to force myself to think otherwise, and I often put pieces where I didn't want to put them because I just didn't.
I'm starting to get used to the new system. I'm generally looking at the pictures a lot because the minors have the point on the hat, the spear coming out of it, So anyway, so you have these guys, and the very powerful guys, the number 10, the 9, and the 8, you don't have so many of those. You have only one number 10 guy, one number 9 guy, 2 8s, et cetera, et cetera. But the scouts, you have like a whole mess of them. Now, the other kind of piece you have is the bombs. Bombs don't move. If anyone touches a bomb, they die, unless they're a minor, in which case they defuse the bomb. So obviously, the way this game works is you have you put your flag on your side and you surround it with bombs. If you don't, it's stupid because someone's going to come in and take it. And then the other guy is forced to fight you and also to find where your flag is, bring these weak units, the miners, all the way over to the other side of the map, defuse the bombs, and then find the flag. And yeah, it makes for a lot of fun to do this.
Yeah, now the game is not terribly strategically deep.
Despite the name of the game being Stratego.
I mean, it is until a point, because there are a lot of gambits and a lot of chess-like trees of decision-making in the game. However, usually it's pretty obvious what you should do, and there's really not a lot of actual intelligent decision-making in the end.
Yeah, for a lot of the game, if you have two good players playing against each other to win, a lot of it just comes down to the initial setup. You know, if this guy sets it up initially like this and the other guy sets it up initially like that, they might as well just turn over their pieces and say who wins.
Yep, because you need a clever setup, and there's also a lot of psychology. Because
there is a lot of psychology.
I mean, the most powerful piece in the game is the 10 or the 1 or the marshal.
Mm-hmm.
Can kill anything on the board except if he hits a bomb, he dies. And of course, if the spy attacks him, he dies.
Yeah, there's one spy unit that's basically useless unless it attacks the number 10.
Now, if the 10 attacks it, it dies. Only if it attacks the 10. And if a 10 attacks another 10, they both die.
Yep.
So you have got to, the best way to win is to somehow get the other person to lose a high-ranking piece that you still have, because now that piece is utterly 100% invincible unless it attacks a bomb.
Yeah, for example, let's say Rim marches his 9 forward, and I attack it with my 10. Now, I have a 10 and a 9, and he doesn't have a 10. He might still have a 10, but he doesn't have a 9. So now I can run my 9 around all willy-nilly, and it's just as powerful as my 10, but it doesn't have to fear the spy. So,
well, it's not just as powerful because it can still be killed by my 10.
By the 10, but then if I see your 10, I'll have no qualms about double suiciding it at all, you know?
Well, no, because if you lose your 9 to my 10 and then you double suicide, now it
no,
comes
no,
down to the 8s.
if you've lost your 9 and then our 10's double suicide, that's good for me.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
That's
definitely.
what I'm saying. That's what I said.
But there's a lot of psychology that, I mean, even down to the point, the things I used to do a lot, especially when I was a kid, to beat my brother at this game, to beat my dad at this game, and my friends, is, and I showed Scott all this, he's like, you fucker.
Mm-hmm.
But now he does it too.
Yeah.
Is I'd move a piece, I'll go from like the least bastardly to the most bastardly. I'd move a piece as though it were more powerful than it was. Like, I know it's his 10, I start moving a freaking 2 or 3 or 4 toward it. And a lot of times, the other person will back off. Whoa, wait a minute. Gotta be careful here. And you can use pieces, because every piece is equally threatening until you finally find out what it is.
Yeah, it's every piece on one side, they all look the same. The flag looks the same as a bomb, looks the same as the 10, looks the same as a 2 to the other guy. He doesn't know what you've got, and he doesn't know where it is. So if you start moving around a 4 in the same way you would move it as if it were a spy, the other guy might think it's a spy, and you can maybe bluff him out and thus bide some time to make another move on the other side of the board.
Yeah, and the obvious optimal strategies are pretty much just to be very defensive. Don't move a piece if you don't have to, because the moment I move a piece, I have now told the other person that that piece is not a bomb.
And it's also not the flag.
Yes, it's not the bomb or the flag.
So,
thus, if I say, because this happened once in a game where I destroyed Scott's 10 with the spy, I still had my 10. That meant that my 10 could kill any piece on the board that moved with no danger. So what I would do is I would wait for him to move a piece.
Because you have to move a piece or you lose.
Every time he moved a piece, I just chase it down with my 1 and kill it.
10.
1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he knows it's not a bomb, and he knows it can't kill his 10. So anything that moves, he can kill. And eventually, with that process, he's going to kill everything I've got.
Yep. Another very
All
classic...
I can do is trick him into moving it into a bomb.
Now, moving up from there, another very classic thing I would often do is I'd be considering my turn. And say I have 2 guys adjacent to one of Scott's guys. One of those guys is a bomb that can't move, and one of them is like a 3.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'll sit there, and I'll act like I'm considering my move, and I'll pick up the bomb or put my finger on the bomb like I'm going to move it, and then change my mind. Now, psychologically, my opponent might think, he was about to move that piece. There's no way it's a bomb. It's a bomb.
I don't think that at all. I wait till I seen it move.
Yeah.
But other people might be fooled by that.
You can do the same thing with the scouts, because scouts can move in any one direction unlimitedly.
Yeah, so if you have a scout, you can move it forward 10 spaces. And the point of the scout is not to hurt anything, because it really can't hurt anything. It's to see what's up ahead. So, like, let's say you've cleared out a lot of his side of the board, and you see a piece over there that hasn't moved. You send your scout all the way to the end of the board in one turn, and you say, what's that? And he'll say, it's a bomb. And then you know where to send your miners, because that's where the bombs are at. You know, that's the point of a scout.
Yep.
But let's say you have a scout. What if you move it one space at a time? Now you're tricking the other guy into thinking it's not a scout. And he might go after it. But, oh, you just went after a scout. You wasted your time.
Because one thing I very often do is I'll never put more than maybe one scout in my front line. Because scouts die against anything except, well, the spy. So what I would do is that way, and Scott always falls for this to this day. Whether I win or lose, he always loses almost all the scouts right away. Because I put a bunch of 4s or 7s at the front of my line, which is the weakest unit that will kill a scout. And then Scott will send his scouts up right away, and they all die against my front line, and now I have more guys left. He loses his scouts, which gives me an advantage.
Yeah, as a result of this, I've only slightly changed my strategy because I still keep a bunch of scouts on the front line because I want to see, you never know. His front line could be anything at all. I don't know if he's going to use the same strategy every time. And by discovering what he has on the front line right away, I'm able to rearrange my front lines and set up the proper defense and, arrangement and then go out because, who knows if I'll set up the proper arrangement, luckily, in my initial setup where I have no information at all.
But you have to be careful because when it's very difficult to rearrange because it's difficult to move pieces around.
It is. That's why the scouts go out and die. They also free up space for the rearrangement right at the front where is the exact spot where I want to rearrange. Now, the other thing, though, is I am careful to save 3 or 4 scouts until later in the game. After I've cleared out much of his area, I need to send those guys down there to find out where the bombs are without, dangerously moving my high-ranking pieces around, stepping on things that haven't moved.
Yep. Now, in the game we recently played, I actually lost this one. I made a critical... It was not so much an error as a...
Yeah, we just played the game before the show to freshen the mind.
Yep, as a bad tactical decision. We both had... Our 10s were both dead, double suicide. Because while it was not likely that I was going to lose my 10 and he wouldn't, there was a small chance, and I decided it wasn't worth the risk, so I suicided.
Yeah, we both basically had our spies right there waiting. So if either one of us decided to move the 10 forward and actually start killing things, that person would have been screwed because their 10 would have been lost right away. But at the same time, pulling back the 10 wouldn't have worked so well either. So it was sort of like the left side of the board was locked up with the 10s and the spies not moving at all.
Yep, so it came down then that we both had a 9. I sent my 9 up to clear out all of Scott's resistance. Now my 9 was so far away, Scott sent his down to clear up my resistance. But because of the way I was set up, I couldn't very easily counter his guy there, and I ended up losing as a result.
Yeah, he sent his 9 down like the left side where the board was sort of crowded, and I moved my guys in a way so that, he would constantly have 2 different guys to go after, and there were guys in his way, and it just made it difficult for him to move. I sent my 9 right down the side, and I had scouts there checking in front of him all the time so that he was able to just go, 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 go. I found the miner, and then I found the bomb. I sent the miner straight down the right side of the map. Just click, 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 click.
Yep, and there was my critical error because the 9 was out of the way, and I had an 8, but the 8 was trapped on the other side of a bomb, and I could have gotten him over there, but I didn't have time to get him over there because I had to move another piece out of the way.
Yep.
I left a piece in a place that prevented my 8 from defending against his miners, and I had no other pieces in the area that could attack the miner other than my own miner, which he had another miner ready, and that's actually how I got rid of his first miner.
Yeah, at the end of the game, I had lost all my miners because he got them all. But the 9 was there, so I just moved the 9 in, and the miner had cleared out just enough bombs.
I would have been guaranteed to win, except that I had left one hole in my bomb defense.
So the miner, I cleared out just enough bombs, and then my 9 was able to just walk in and take the flag. If he had one more bomb or moved a bomb, in a different direction, Oh, that would have been it. I would have had a little trouble there. But I did have an 8 waiting the whole game in the corner. I didn't touch him. I resisted the urge to move that 8 for so long, just in case.
We both had the 8s ready to go.
I know, but mine wasn't trapped by bombs. He was in the corner, completely wide open.
He wasn't trapped by bombs. He was just, there was a bomb and like a 5 in his way. And it would have taken like 3 rounds to get the 5 far enough out of the way to bring him in. And you would have gone after the 5, and then your 9 would have come over.
Yep. So that's another advantage of, I think, of sending the 2s out right away, is that if I need to like pull the spy out of like a crevice, I can do that more easily because all these 2s are dead at the beginning of the game. I've cleared out like 5 spaces.
See, I'll also opt to often lose pieces, but I opt to lose the sergeants, the ones just above
the 4s.
minors. Those 7 4s, the most useless pieces in the game.
Yeah, the 4s are pretty useless.
I pretty much load up my front lines with them. I send them forward to be effectively scouts. They eventually die. I've freed up my lines almost as well, and now right behind them are all my scouts.
Mm-hmm.
Well, half my scouts. I always keep 1 scout, 1 minor, and 1 8 hidden together somewhere, like out of the way for an emergency win the game, like send a scout up to grab the flag or something.
Yeah, see, what I actually do is, since there's 3 pathways connecting the 2 sides, with the water in between, is I make three forces. They have powerful guys in the front with, scouts, powerful guys, miners. So my front lines are scouts, powerful guys, miners in each of the 3 columns. And then I hide the bombs and the flag somewhere in the rear, way back. That way, if his flag happens to be in the left, in the middle, or in the right, I have guys there ready to go in at, that part of the map and go get him. Because, sometimes the game could just come down to, I sent in my attack on the left and his flag was on the right, so it took too long for me to go over and get it. This way, I can go in on the left, and if I've gotten deep and there's no flag, I can just forget that and go in from the right. Which is much closer than going all the way across the board.
Yep, I think in terms of zones of control, and I'll generally put my 9 and my 1 actually kind of close together, because then I have a powerhouse where my 9 can kick ass, yet I've got the 10 there to back him up, and then the other side will be kind of 8s. I always have one area that's really poorly defended.
See, I don't really...
See, the way...
I kind of keep it even.
Here's the reason I do that. There are 3 basic pathways. So... by loading up 2 of them, I'm basically saying, if Scott attacks from those 2, I'm going to win. If Scott attacks on my weak one, I'm going to lose. But I give myself almost a 2/3 chance of winning, instead of a 50% chance.
Perhaps the other thing, though, is I think why that fails you is because I don't really attack right away.
Well, here's the thing.
I kind of wait. I get hit a little bit to see what's there. And then once I see what's there, I push in right where I see the weak spot.
Well, I always put them back a little bit.
It's like a counterpunch.
I always put all my strong guys back a bit. But the thing is that I often do win with that, because I didn't do that in the game we just played. In the game we just played, I did a completely different strategy where I put the 10 by himself with the spy, and then on the other side, I spread all my other powerful guys out in actually a very carefully arranged array.
Yeah. Anyway, as you can see, Stratego is a pretty good game. It's not the greatest game ever.
But there's a lot more to it than you might think.
There is a lot to it, and it's pretty fun to have this army. You arrange the army any way you want. You could put all your bombs in the front line, but then you'd lose immediately because you couldn't move anybody. But you can you arrange these guys in any way you want, and then you fight 2 armies against each other quite directly. Almost as if in a real battle.
It's very fun. There's a lot. You still think a lot. I mean, there's a lot to think and consider about, and you do make a lot of fairly important strategic decisions.
I think the biggest advantage that this game has is that it's a non-random 2-player game.
There are very few 2-player games that aren't just ass, to put it bluntly.
And it's cheap, and people can play it even if they aren't super gamers. I know I have friends that really aren't way gamers.
Dude, I used to play this game with my entire family.
Yeah, I mean, what kind of game can you say? What other army military war game can you say that the whole family will enjoy it? Not many.
I'm surprised Jack Thompson isn't going after these violent board games.
Yeah, I know. I've learned so much about battle strategy from playing Stratego. You think if I just got a bunch of my geek friends together with my military strategy, I could take Washington.
I picture you standing there at the Crimean War, and next to you is a bowling ball candle bomb, and behind that is your little flag, and you've got a guy in a silly hat standing in front of you, and you somehow think that you're invincible.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is.
But to me, the greatest advantage of this game, because we love incredibly horrid...
We need to make like a live-action Stratego video.
That'd be pretty funny.
That'd be hilarious. You got bowling ball candles and miners. And...
I think we'll have to look and see if someone's already done it or not.
Yeah, we will. And no one... Oh, that's another thing. I looked on the internet to see if there have been any other podcasts about Stratego ever. And as far as I can tell, there haven't been, although it has been mentioned on some podcasts. Like, I think someone said Stratego once. But no one's actually done a podcast about Stratego. This is the first Stratego podcast, everybody.
Yeah, but I mean, there's fun strategy involved and all that, but most importantly, the game is real quick to play, like 10 minutes maybe.
Well, if you know how to play. A lot dumb people might take too long, but if you're playing with people who know what the hell they're doing.
The instructions say between 30 to 120 minutes.
Yeah.
In 120 minutes, we could almost knock off a game of Dracula.
Yeah, so this is, for smart people, this is a quick game, and for not-so-smart people, not so smart.
I guess, I mean, there are a lot of throwaway decisions in the game. Like, especially because it's very hard to very meticulously design your entire board, especially with a physical game with the other guy sitting there watching you, because you're so afraid that he's going to see the order you put pieces out in and figure out,
if what I generally do is I take all my pieces and I put them out, and then I just rearrange them. If you just take them off the board, like if I just take the pieces and Scott's starting by building his, army from the rear left of the board where he built this triangle shape. And then he's filling in the rest, in columns and rows. I guess his bomb is in the rear left.
Yeah, but even if you do it your way, it's pretty, because you're probably certain pieces, depending on how, like if I see you replace all the pieces in a certain area, depending on the area, I'm usually pretty sure that's where your bomb is.
Yep. So it's kind of tricky to set up one thing you might want to do to be sure that no one's doing this.
One guy sets up, then he leaves the room, other guy comes in, sets up, and then they play.
Or you take a piece of paper, you write down...
God, no, that was a terrible idea. That would take forever.
It works. If you have pre-built Stratego maps, I could sit down one day and prepare 4 or 5 Strategos and just come out and put one together.
In my eyes, the best way to set the game up physically is to take all the pieces off, put them face down on your side, shuffle them up, and then flip them all up in a row, and then just start building in a random order.
Yep, that's generally what we do. And it works out, because no one ever knows exactly where the other guy's flag is. I mean, whenever a guy is moving around down in the rear, lanes of the other guy's board, they're like, I hope it's not a bomb.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the game is very simple. The game is not terribly mentally challenging at all, though it is more strategic than, say, what was that Camels Through the Desert game we played?
Oh, I forget.
Timbuktu, which was just a nothing game.
Yeah.
There's enough to it to where don't underestimate this game.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, Stratego is a Milton Bradley game for your family, 2 players. It's fun. You can actually get this nice wooden version now. If you really like it, you should pay for that because it's way cool. But if not, I recommend you get the wicked, stupid, cheap, $10 or probably less than $10 version that we have.
Now, I like how Wikipedia says that this game has medium rules complexity and high strategic depth.
They don't know what the hell they're talking about.
I mean, I guess it has high strategic depth compared to every other Milton Bradley game except for, I don't know, Shogun.
Yeah. I wonder what Board Game Geek says. Board Game Geek is at 5.9 out of 10 stars. And the only other information I see about it, besides factual information, is that there's an article that says you can't go wrong with Stratego, which is, you really
can't. I mean,
you can't go wrong with Stratego.
We played this game to death. I mean, playing the game is not really a matter of who's smarter or who's more strategic, but it's more a matter of the luck of who set up what kind of thing and how it plays out, and there's not much to it anymore, but it's still fun to play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Board Game Geek says it's a medium light to light game.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, go Wikipedia. I think, there's all these initiatives like the Heavy Metal Improvement Initiative. I think we need the Board Game Article Improvement Initiative.
Yeah, they should just sort of someone should write a script that can turn a Board Game Geek page into a Wikipedia page, you know, and then at least to the, you know how some of the pages have that big bar on the right with all the, vital information? It should just loot Board Game Geek for the vital information on the right side of the Wikipedia page, and then you write an article.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, I'm looking through the strategy listed in the Wikipedia article, and it's pretty much just logical, obvious answer. Logical, obvious thing.
There are no...
Obvious thing. During gameplay, players must identify bombs without sacrificing too many troops, determine the probable location of the enemy flag, form an attack plan.
Yeah.
Misdirection plays a role as well.
Yeah, look at this. It's got an average rating of 5.87, but on Board Game Geek, 1,916 people own the game. That tells you something.
Yep.
No one's going to say it's the best game ever like Puerto Rico or anything, but everyone's got it, and people tend to like it, and they play it.
Yeah, unlike other games everyone owns like Monopoly, this game's actually fun.
Yep.
And that was Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for our opening theme.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com. If you like our podcasts, you'll love our forums. Make sure you visit them. You can send your email feedback to geeknights@gmail.com. And if you want, you can leave us a voicemail at 206-333-1537.
Geeknights airs every weeknight, Monday through Thursday.
Geeknights is recorded with absolutely no studio and no audience. But unlike those other talk shows, it's actually recorded at night.
White Knight, because Penny Arcade went nuts about this game, and so did half the internet, but while the trailer was really pretty and it looked really cool, there is absolutely not enough information to say anything valuable about this game.
No, there wasn't.
Other than that it was very pretty.
Yep. All right, so I want someone to go and look in the archives of frontrowcrew.com and find out how many times Rim has made a Sony news and how many times he's had a Jack Thompson news, so we get a little tally going up here, on the virtual chalkboard that is the forum.
Well, remember, they both have the same standard. They have to do something crazier than something they've already done.
All right, anyway, everyone knows that, Nintendo seems to be getting it on with Opera. They have an Opera browser for the DS that costs $30, and it comes with a little flash card and whatever. And I don't know if that's out yet in this country, but it's going to be, for sure. And the Wii is going to have Opera for your web browsing pleasure. But it was just announced today, 100% sure, not a rumor, that Opera for the Wii will be free until June of 2007. So if you get a Wii before June of 2007, you can download Opera and install it on your Wii for nothing. They know what they're doing, so I really doubt it's going to be one of those, people tried to run a con, but they screwed it up deals.
Well, they've got their act together more than at least half of the cons I've been talking to in recent memory.
I know, if you just look at the guests they've collected, they collected a bunch of podcasters, which isn't hard.
Dude, they got Entertainment System.
Yeah, they got Entertainment System, and they got the video game pianist guy, which, just shows, hey, they're up to something.
Now, we actually have a relevant anecdote about Entertainment System.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, I don't know if I think I'll save it.
Yep.
I'll save it for next week, the pregame.
Okay, we'll save it. But regardless, go if you're thinking about going, www.sitacon.com. Siticon, like sit-a-con.
It really whips the llama's ass.
Whip.
Whip.
Really whips the llama's ass.
Whatever, it's video game day.
Yeah, it is.
I'll let your news go first because my news is a Jack Thompson news.
Oh, God. That's all. I think half of your news is Jack Thompson and Sony news.
You know what? On video game day it is because there's not much other video game news I care about. I'm not going to report on rumors about the Wii or rumors about the PlayStation 3 or rumors about any
I'm not going to report on rumors about anything either, but...
And I was going to talk about...
It is an anime con in Utica, New York, and it is pretty cool.
Could you sound any less enthusiastic? That was like the most horrible...
I'm just giving the information now.
Whatever. It's going to be awesome. We're doing a whole crazy ton of stuff at this con.
We're running a game show, and we're doing panels. And
we're doing, what, 3 panels?
Yeah, and we're doing an artist alley table, and we're doing all sorts of crazy batshit at this con. So if you're anywhere near, you should go.
Now, I know we have a good number of listeners back at RIT. It's not that far from you guys.
It's only like 2 to 3 hours-ish.
Yeah, probably 2 hours. I mean, it's a little bit past Syracuse on the thruway.
Yep. It's right in the middle of New York State, equidistant from anywhere in the entire state. So if you're in New York State or southern Ontario or western Connecticut, Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire, something like that.
Yeah, that was great, Scott.
Yeah.
Pretty much, if you live within a few hours of this place, I'd highly recommend you go because, one, it's one of those small anime cons that's just starting out, and they're almost always awesome because the only people who go to them tend to be awesome people.
Yep, and
plus they tend to be really cheap.
The other thing is I've spoken to the guy running the con, and they sound like they just click, there it is.
Now, think of this, not so much for us as gamers, because many of us gamer types probably already have a computer plugged into the TV, and it's not a big deal. We run our emulators there and everything. But we're not the focus of all these things they're putting in the Wii. Imagine normal people to whom if you showed them a computer hooked up to a TV with an emulator and a web browser, they wouldn't know what to think. They just go nuts.
Well, here's another thing I want to point out is that the Wii, first of all, the Wiimote is a very good pointing device, which is good for using a browser. 2, people are really familiar with using a remote control, so if they can use a remote control device to browse the web, my grandma has a hard time using a web browser because she's an old grandma. But if she had a remote control to browse the web, I imagine she'd have a much better time of it.
I note that my grandpa has absolutely no trouble surfing the web.
Yeah, my grandpa also kind of doesn't. It's mostly that they don't know what they should do. Not that they don't know how to do it as much. I mean, they don't know. But anyway, also, we currently have a computer plugged into our TV, a Mac Mini with Firefox, and that's all well and good for browsing the web. But it's not perfect for browsing the web on a TV. I mean, you can't maximize things on a Mac. You can't full screen. It's Tuesday, September 26th, and this is Geeknights. Tonight we discuss the old board game, Stratego. Let's do this. So today I realized that next week I only have to work 3 days.
Theoretically, I only have to work 4 days. They haven't actually told me if I get Friday off or not.
Really?
Yeah, at worst case, I'll come Friday evening on my own.
Oh, okay. Because on Monday is the Jew holiday, Yom Kippur, which is the day where you don't eat and all your sins go away. And I don't believe in any of that, but I'm going to take off Rovanika. And Friday is Citicon. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, so once again, we're going to plug it all week, this week and next week, because we're going. And while we have gone to many cons, as Geeknights and as other things, this is the first con that has offered to pay our whole way.
Hooray for Citicon.
Not just our badge in or hotel.
Yeah, Citicon is the SUNY IT Anime Club convention